What is going on, New York Jet fans and Jet Guru fans? Thank you for joining us once again as I'm just sharing the love to all the different Jet pages, spreading our wings out there, getting more fans. I really appreciate all the support this week on all the write-ups that we did on Jets Guru. Really shows that you guys have a passion for the not only for the New York Jets, but for what we're doing here at Jets Guru. So, I mean, the support is absolutely amazing. And let's keep it going, man. Let's not stop here. Let's keep it going as far as we can go and get some attention so we can get some more people on the show that care about the Jets and also get some more players on the show and be able to ask them good questions and really get you guys a good product each and every week that you can be happy to sit down and tune in. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope all is well with you, and let's just get right into it. Let's not wait. I mean, it's been an interesting time for the New York Jets. Going 0-11 is not fun. We're watching this mess unfold, possibly one of the worst teams in NFL history, not just Jets history. So, it's not the happiest times, but when you break things down, I mean, if you're going to go 0-16, if that is going to be your destiny, I guess the one thing that you can say that is kind of a silver lining is the fact that you have $80 million in cap space. You have 9 picks in next year's draft, including 2 first-rounders. You have 2 first-rounders the following year. And you have a generational prospect at quarterback staring at you in the face if somehow you finish 0-16. And, I spoke about this, Krista, on Jets Guru in one of my write-ups where I talked about how, a win for the Jets is, there's no silver lining this year, in my opinion. I understand the players, they go out there, they get paid to do a job. And so I'm never going to question from a player standpoint what they need to do and what they want to do, because if you ask them a question, they're going to give you the same answer every single time. They're going to say, we go out there to win, the whole politics thing, you're not going to get anything juicy or like, hey, yeah, we really do need Trevor Lawrence, like no one is going to say that. So you're going to get, we go out each and every game to win, and I expect that. But from a fan's perspective, we're looking at the overall look of the New York Jets moving forward because, a lot of these players won't even be with the Jets. Some will retire as, longtime New York Jets, and others won't, or others will spend a lot of their career with the Jets, move on for a few more years, but ultimately call themselves a Jet. So, you see Rex Ryan, anytime he talks as if he's the Jets coach, like every other place he coached that doesn't matter. When you speak to Bart Scott, it's the same thing. He's like Mr. Jet on the radio. I love him for it. He's a national treasure. Bart Scott needs to be saved at all costs. But, looking at looking long-term, it's not that bad of an outlook if we can get there. Because if the Jets somehow win a game, Krista, and we drop to the second pick and Sam Darnold does not produce in the next 5 games, it's just that would be absolute disaster for us. But what is your feelings on the Jets winning a game for the rest of the year?
What really stinks is all my life I've always rooted for the Jets to win, especially since I'm a season ticket holder. I go out to MetLife and I always root for them to win. I think the one unique perspective for fans now that COVID hit and we're not allowed to go to MetLife, I realize how much easier it is for me personally. I can't speak for everyone. I'm sure it speaks to a lot of fans as well. For me to root against the Jets from my couch because I'm not MetLife. I don't see the players live. And although I do feel like a trash fan, I said that on Twitter, I feel like such a trash fan, but I feel like the only way to get the message across to the Johnsons to show how bad this team is for the team to go 0-16. And it's just really, really sad that we got to this point that we need to go 0-16 in order to send a message to the Johnsons to say, hey, look, this isn't working. The guy that your brother hired and you loved, Adam Gase, this coach isn't working. You got to get rid of him. And when I said clean house, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh no, we got to keep this. I don't mean to get rid of all the young players. I just want to clear that up because I think there was a lot of misconception there in the last podcast. When I said blow the team up, I mean, get rid of all the coaches. Kind of what Antonio Cromartie tweeted out, like get rid of all the coaching staff, start new, start brand new, and that means letting Joe Douglas do his job, and that means getting rid of the old veteran players that are not producing here or may not even fit the system. And that's why I said that the Jets need to do rebuilding the right way. I know we're, as fans, myself included, we're sick of the whole term rebuilding, but the Jets have never truly rebuilt this team in the right way. And I know you guys are sick of me saying it, but it's really, really true. We need to rebuild the right way. And that starts with, unfortunately, suffering this season with a poorly coached team by Adam Gase and seeing this team going 0-16. I think, unfortunately, rooting for a win does absolutely nothing for this team. And like you mentioned before, these players can't go out and say, "Well, I want to lose," because they're potentially free agents too. Because there's teams watching. What player wants it? What team's gonna want a player that says, "Hey, I'm there to lose"? No one wants a loser mentality. That's why they go out there, they do their job, and they want to win all the time. So that's why you get those genetic answers. And I don't blame the players, but us as fans, we're invested in this team. And that's why it stinks that we're in this position why when we're long term fans and we have to root for them to lose. It stinks. And unfortunately, I think Sam Darnold and the Jets, I mentioned this before, I really like Sam Darnold. I still think he's going to be a good quarterback. I don't think he's going to be a good quarterback here, though. What I saw last game, I saw a guy that has regressed under Adam Gase, and this is your so-called offensive guru that has ruined Sam Darnold, and he needs to get away. We need a fresh start. We need a new quarterback. We need Trevor Lawrence, and I know a lot of people are saying, "Well, we're out of Trevor Lawrence, this, that." We're gonna have a whole new coaching staff. We're gonna have a whole new playbook, and we're gonna have a whole new set of players. That's why I am for the rebuild, and that's what, and I really think at this point, as sad as it is, I think Sam Darnold right now is a lot worse than Joe Flacco is right now, and that's really saying a lot. And it stinks that I said it, and now I think Sam Darnold has a lot more potential, but we're not going to see it under the New York Jets because he's been misused under Adam Gase. The guy needs to get away. He just needs to go and sit down for a few. That's why right now I think it's best if Sam Darnold does showcase himself in a way, in a weird way, in hopes that his value get picks up. That's why I'm rooting for Sam Darnold to do well in this sense. But it stinks that I have to say Joe Flacco right now is better than Sam Darnold. This is just how bad it is as an organization. I think that's why it's time to part ways with Sam Darnold. The Jets just need a clear house. That's why we have to root for the 0-16. It's very, very bad that we're in this predicament, but in the end, I think it's going to pay for the long term future, and hopefully, 0-16, we're going to do a lot better with 2021 with the new quarterback. I'm not saying we're going to be great, but I think it will be start of a new direction when we have a new quarterback, a new coaching staff. Hopefully, Joe Douglas is able to do his job. Hopefully, the coaching staff, we don't do him like we did with Matt Rule and we handcuff him with certain coaches that he doesn't want. It all starts from there. So that's why I'm looking forward to 2021. That's pretty much how I see it. It's really sad that I came to this point and that Adam Gase has sucked the love that I have for the New York Jets this season, but it is what it is, I guess.
Absolutely. And, when you look at Joe Flacco versus Sam Darnold, it's easier for Flacco to have more success because Flacco throws a better deep ball. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
been his MO his entire career is that he throws a good deep ball. So it makes it easier to kind of throw it up for guys and letting those guys run under it. And one of those guys that's really stepped out and had a good time under that was Brashard Perryman because it fits exactly what he wants to do. Brashard wants to use his speed, get to that second level and take off. And he's been able to do that with some success. And, mind you, Flacco has missed Perryman a couple times on some throws over the course of the season as well that could, bump up his stats even more. And so it makes it a little bit easier when you have a guy who could throw a nice deep ball and kind of place it where it needs to be with the air that's needed to carry. When you see Sam throw a deep ball, especially last week, watching him throw some of those deep balls, it's almost like he turns his head and like tosses it up, like
Mm-hmm.
just that seems like there's no real type of accuracy to it. It's just putting it in the area. And one particular play was when Mims had to jump over the cornerback. He had his arms nearly over his head. It was an amazing attempt to try to catch the ball, but it was an offensive pass interference, and it was a badly placed ball that if it wasn't for Mims' athleticism and big body, probably would have been another Sam Darnold interception, his third of the game. So it's one of those things where you have an offensive line that's very sporadic, which is clearly affected Sam Darnold and his confidence within the pocket. So when he does have time, you notice him, he's patting the ball. He's doing these jerking motions where he seems like he's unsure when to release the ball. And at the end of the day, as a quarterback, you're going to have to throw into tight windows. It's just part of the job. And, everyone's like, well, if the Jets had better receivers and they were open, Sam would have more. I mean, we saw, again, we're not asking Sam to move mountains here. We realize the Jets are bad. They probably won't win a game. We realize there's going to be turnovers. We realize they're going to be stalled out drives because of the scheme and the play calling. But we should be able to see more explosive plays down the field, especially over the course of a game, not just the first 2 series in a game or 3 series in a game, but throughout the continuation of a game. And you saw that with Joe Flacco for most of the game, where he was able to put up some footballs to be able to evaluate this wide receiver group. And I don't think they're done evaluating on what these guys can do. And putting Sam Darnold out there to put up a performance like he did last week, if this continues over the next 2 weeks, do you let him finish it out? Or do you bring a guy like Flacco in so you can get the best out of your receiving core to see who's actually going to be here next year and what they want, especially trying that tight end position? But it's a really sad thing to just watch Sam Darnold kind of regress like this. And here's the thing. A lot of people say, well, if you hold on to Sam, then you could just draft around him. And I get that idea, and it makes sense if it's your only option. But just remember, even though the Jets are going to have a lot of money, they're going to have a turnover of the roster, they're still going to be in a brand new rebuild. Do you really want Sam Darnold, who's kind of shell-shocked at this point a little bit, considering what he was when he first came in? Do you really want him to go through a fresh rebuild and think, honestly, even if Trevor Lawrence comes in, unless the Jets are, spot on with everything they do, they're probably not making the playoffs next year. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Usually rebuilding teams don't make the playoffs in their first year. So you just hope that they show glimpses, especially the quarterback, if you draft a new one moving into the future. Do you want to pick up Sam Darnold's 5th-year option and watch him suffer through this and then have to extend him? Because like we talked about, if you pass on a generational talent like Trevor Lawrence, you're not just giving Sam a 1-year tryout and say, oh, we're going to start over. You pass on Trevor Lawrence, you're in it for the long haul with Sam Darnold because you have to justify that move. You can't just say, oh, well, Darnold had a bad 4th year. We're going to move on and not pick up his 5th-year option. That is a locked-in thing. And when you look at the market for quarterbacks who've been getting their money, you're talking about 4 or 5-year deals over $100 million. And even if you don't give him that much because of his performance, it's still going to be a hefty fee where you can take that money and use it for another receiver, another lineman, a running back, a pass rushing linebacker, a cornerback. The Jets have a lot of holes, including possibly tight end. And I don't think that Sam is deserved or got that money. I think Sam on a team like the Colts, I think that's a good spot for him. They have a good offensive line. It looks like Phillip Rivers probably coming back for one more season. That gives Sam a year under that offense to sit and learn and then transition into that. And they also have a good defense too. If I'm not mistaken, it's one of the best defenses in the league. So, Sam will have multiple opportunities to get on the field and work with what he's able to do. But with the Jets rebuilding, I just don't think it's a really good move to hold on to him unless he's going to ball out and he's going to show his worth as being a guy who could throw you back into games, because that's what you need ultimately from your rookie quarterback. You need to show that he could throw you back into winning situations even when the chips are down. We don't have to go through the list again. We've brought up multiple quarterbacks who are missing linemen, missing weapons, like bad football teams, new offense, rookie seasons, these types of things. And they're still able to show you glimpses of hope. They're still able to show you things that make you say, okay, that's the kid. I mean, is there been a point in any of the people that we've mentioned over the last few weeks, Watson, Burrows, all these types of guy, Herbert, where they have had the worst stats for a quarterback? And you going back, and if I'm not mistaken, his quarterback rating is the worst out of all quarterbacks over the last couple years, and especially this year. I mean, you got a guy like Jacoby Brissett, who is right behind Sam Darnold, is the last time they've thrown a touchdown. Sam Darnold has the longest touchdown drought right now. I think it's 4+ games of not throwing a touchdown. I mean, that's pathetic. And when you go back and you see what Perryman was able to do, when you see what Mims is able to do, what you see what Crowder was able to do, and how this offense, they were able to actually score points and put some things on the board, that is very telling of what Sam Darnold can do. And what I think is happening right now with Sam Darnold is that the NFL knows Sam Darnold now at this point. They know what he can do and what he can't do. And they're exploiting that. And they're telling him, they're asking him to take chances down the field because they know that he can't do it. And so it makes it easier to send an extra rusher to disrupt his timing, knowing that affects him more than anything. And you take your chances with your one-on-one matchups because Sam Darnold is not scaring you down the field. It makes your offense very one-dimensional. Now, you could say your offense is one-dimensional with Flacco because he just throws a big deep ball, but that's a big thing because when you can keep defenses honest, then you can open up things underneath for your tight ends, for your backs, for screens, for guys like Crowder, who Darnold said they think they're trying to take him away from him, and that's why his stats have dropped. Well, listen, man, you look at some of the great quarterbacks over the league, Sam, there's been guys who've been out for multiple weeks, for seasons. You still got to go out there and play football, and you're not going to have your ideal setup most times. That's not how teams operate. It's a physical sport. And so, that coupled with what you heard from Adam Gase today or yesterday, where he's talking about, oh, well, we didn't do Sam a service here. We did him a disservice. I haven't gotten him ready, and the way that Gase talked about it, it's like he doesn't have confidence that Sam Darnold is ready right now. He's like, we're still trying to get him ready, week to week. This is a guy going into his fourth season who is making the same mistakes that he did in USC. And I think another problem here that gets underrated is the amount of actual snaps he's had at starting quarterback in big games. You look at it, he didn't play high school his whole career. And he didn't play quarterback his whole career. He played linebacker as well. You look at guys like Mark Sanchez, you look at guys Sam Darnold, where they just didn't have big starting moment starts, throughout a 4-year, college career. And so I think now when you're looking at what's ahead, you look at what has to be done. I think this is an easy out for them, and I think that they're going to make it ultimately because I think Sam is not going to provide what you need. Now, maybe I'm wrong, Krista. Maybe he comes out against the Raiders and he slings it around. But remember, every team that the New York Jets are playing from here on out, pretty much except for the Patriots, and you don't know where they're going to be at by the end of the season. You never know. They're fighting for playoff spots. This isn't the same, a Raiders team. They're a little bit more sure of themselves this year than they were last year when we surprise beat them. And it's going to be very hard for the Jets linebackers to contain someone like Darren Waller, who, as of late, he hasn't been as featured as he was in the beginning of the season, especially as he was last season. But he's a threat. And as you know, this season with the Jets cornerbacks and linebackers in coverage, when there's a threat to be had, that the defense is exploiting it. You know what I mean? And we saw that the last few weeks, with the Chargers. You saw it last week with Devontae Parker. And Waller is their go-to guy. And then you have explosive guys like Ruggs, and then you have a good running back. And this isn't an easy team to play either. And so I'm trying to look at the schedule and find out where Sam Darnold's really going to get his shot to really kind of go gun for gun with some of these future possible playoff teams here. So looking at this game, it's hard for me to imagine that the Jets are competitive in it, unless, Joe Flacco's playing and he can kind of keep up with the pace of the game. But one of the guys, Krista, that I really like from this draft class, and, his name keeps getting brought up, is Denzel Mims. And, we're wondering, like, what could Mims be moving on into the future? And, I did a write-up earlier this week on Denzel Mims. And you look at Denzel Mims compared to the other receivers in his rookie class. You're talking about Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, CeeDee Lamb, Chase Claypool, all these guys, Jerry Jeudy. The one glaring stat that you see between Mims and all those guys is the fact that most of those guys, if not all of them, have played 10 or more games. You look at a guy like Denzel Mims, he's only played 5 games this year, playing for one of the worst teams possibly in NFL history, and a quarterback who is regressing, and a coach who does not know how to properly scheme. We've seen that over the last 2 years. And this guy is still putting up stats. So it's very deceiving when you pull up reception yards. You see Mims sitting around about 10th in his class, and you go, oh, man, he's having a bad season. But if you watch Jet games, and if you know how the games are played, it goes a little bit deeper than that, because when you look at the amount of reception yards per game that these guys are getting, Denzel Mims puts himself at fourth in that rookie class, right behind CeeDee Lamb. And that's only in 5 games. He's sitting there at 56.8 yards per game. CeeDee Lamb is getting 59, and T. Higgins is getting 61. So you're talking about less than 10 yards separates him from Justin Jefferson for the number 2 spot there. Justin Jefferson's just having an amazing year. But when you look at also what Justin Jefferson is doing, what's the thing that's happening with Justin Jefferson that's not happening with Denzel Mims? And that is targets. Denzel Mims has 33 targets. Justin Jefferson has 72 targets for 918 yards. Mims has 33 targets for 284 yards. That's double the amount of targets. If you do that, you're talking about Mims being around 750, 800 yards or more in receiving yards on that clip. You're talking about him having probably 70-something yards a game, and he's probably not sitting at a donut. But he's not featured like that because the Jets have a hard time moving their offense. They're one of the worst offenses in the league because it takes a while for plays to develop for wide receivers. And when you have a quarterback who's uncomfortable, you have a line that's shaky, you're not going to put up those types of stats. And not just that, Thielen for Minnesota, he's missed some time, and he took over the Stephon Diggs kind of deep role. And so if you look at it, Justin Jefferson is benefiting for the fact that he took over a role that was open for a guy that fits his personality perfectly, a guy to go out and go get the ball. So he's in a perfect situation. And that's what we're talking about, is putting these young players in position to make plays. And I think with Denzel Mims, I think he is one of the best receivers in his class. And I think if the Jets do it right, if they put other targets around him so that the focus is not just on him where they have to rotate, because when Adam Thielen is playing, make no mistake, he's a very good route runner, and the number 1 guy is kind of going back and forth on this. A lot of times Justin's getting the number 2 look, except for now. Recently he's been getting the ones. And you look at a guy like T. Higgins, if I'm not mistaken, he also has Boyd out there. He has AJ Green, so there's been Mims, I think, in my personal opinion, when you look at his frame, when you look at his ability to go up and get the football, and he always puts himself in position to catch the ball. He's already made this year some catches, Krista, where I have just been absolutely stunned at the body positioning he puts himself in to try to make these catches. And he's made some very, very good catches and big time catches where I go, wow, man, you get a quarterback that could put that ball on the money. This is a kid that can average it easy 70, 80 yards a game, 3, 4 receptions, 5 receptions a game, and really put up numbers for the Jets and take the pressure off this team. And so I think the sky is the limit for Denzel Mims. I think the only thing we have to look out for, we don't know if it's going to be a habit, but it's the injury bug. Yeah. Hamstrings are tough to come back from. It's something that you have to literally be 100% healthy to really bounce back from, because every little nagging pull, every little, wince, they're going to set you back 2-3 weeks. They're going to sit you down because you're a runner. And if you can't push off the line and explode, then what's the point of you being out there? And so for Denzel Mims, if he stays healthy, I think he's right there with the Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson might be the top of the class, but he's right there, if not better than T. Higgins. He's right there, if not better than CeeDee Lamb. He's right there, if not better than Chase Claypool and all these guys. Everyone says, oh, Chase Claypool is explosive. He's got Ben Roethlisberger throwing him the ball. And the Pittsburgh Steelers organization that has had success with wide receivers over the years. I mean, you look at Chase Claypool, you look at his reception average, it's 13.6. You look at Denzel Mims, that's 16.7. He averages more yards per game than Chase Claypool. You look at the targets. You got Chase Claypool at 74 targets, okay? And he's got 611 yards. Denzel Mims at 33 targets already has 284. So if you give him those reps, he definitely goes above what Chase Claypool can do. And I like his frame. I like his toughness, and I like his ability to catch the ball. He's not dominant. He is not he's not a receiver that is built on speed, that needs to get the extra step to get free. He's a guy that you could throw the ball to him in tough circumstances. You could throw the ball to him in really closed windows, and he's going to position himself to make a catch. So, Krista, what has been your opinion on Mims, and how do you think he projects in the future for the New York Jets?
I really like Denzel Mims a lot. It stinks that he has to go through a team coached by Adam Gase and a guy that's supposedly an offensive guru that comes out and says at the end of the game, I run out of plays for a guy like Denzel Mims, which makes me want to throw my TV out the window when you say things like that, Adam Gase. Oh my God. But anyway, I think Denzel Mims is going to be a really good player based on what I've seen. Like you mentioned before, the biggest concern is the injury bug, of course, but I like what I've seen from him. I like that he's a big red zone target. He catches those 50-50 balls. He never quits. He never gives up, and I like that in a wide receiver. I like that he's aggressive. I know last game he's kind of getting penalized a lot because he was overly aggressive, and I actually like to see a wide receiver that's overly aggressive. To me, that shows he's willing to do anything to go and get the football. It goes to show that he loves football. He's not lazy. That's the kind of things I like to see in a rookie wide receiver, and I know things like that is possible, especially when you're a rookie quarterback, to be overly aggressive. I know he'll learn, but those are the things I like to see because I'm so used to the Jets drafting these wide receivers that are either A, projects that don't know how to run routes, or they give up on the routes, or they don't know how to catch the football, this, that. Denzel Mims to me seems like the real deal. I think he has the potential to be a number one or even a possibly number two. I think he's going to be that good based off what I've seen. But unfortunately, I think we're only scratching the surface of his potential because I think he's being held back by Adam Gase as well as so many other players on this team. But I think we're going to see a lot more. I think we're going to see the real big potential of Denzel Mims next season. I know that sounds very, very vague, but I really like what I've seen from Denzel Mims currently. I think unfortunately, he's being held back by Sam Darnold as well, because, like you mentioned before, he's regressing, and there's times when Denzel Mims is able to open himself, but unfortunately, Sam's locked into one receiver. I like the fact that Denzel Mims is able to do that for a quarterback, and I think next season, when we see Denzel Mims on this team, he's going to help out next year as well, especially whoever is the head coach. I think we're going to see a lot more plays designed to him. I think the fact that he's able to draw the double teams, he's able to get open. I think that's amazing. Like I mentioned before, as a fan, I'm so used to the Jets drafting these project wide receivers failing, the whole cycle. And it's just nice to see a guy like Denzel Mims love football, able to get open, just do the little things. And I think 2021 is gonna really see what Denzel Mims really is.
Absolutely. And I think he's going to be a huge part of this team. And, I have something that I'm going to do a write up on tomorrow, so I won't get too much into it. But looking into this Las Vegas Raiders game, I mean, Josh Jacobs missed his second consecutive practice. So there's a good chance that he's not going to play. But Devontae Booker, his replacement, rushing for 5.5 yards per carry. The Jets have done a pretty good job at stopping the run and limiting big chunk plays. Making the game one-dimensional. That's one of the ways that the Jets could stay in this game, because when you look at the Raiders, they're giving up 29 points a game. Now, with Sam Darnold at the reins here, it kind of looks tough, but when Joe Flacco was playing, he was pushing us over 20 points a game in scoring, which I think that's a better matchup, to be honest with you. If Flacco is playing, I think the Jets could get a lot more out of this game, to be honest with you, because when you look at the Raiders, it's not like their corners are going to sit there and wow you. Their safeties have better stats, and that's bad news for a guy like Sam Darnold, who seems to not really see safeties when he at certain points during the game, or see trailing players, which safeties tend to do, and jump wide receiver routes and help their corners out. It's going to be tough for the Jets, but there's yards to be had in this game. I think when you look at the Jets and what they're able to do and what the Raiders are not, like I said, they give up a lot of points. I think that this is all going to come down to who makes the most mistakes, obviously, like most games, but who is able to keep up with what's going on, because, Gruden keeps it really simple for Mr. Carr there. And, he's having a good season, a sneaky good season. You're talking about 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. His tight end Waller has 64 receptions. He makes the routes very simple. He get the ball out and then take your shot when need be. All behind a good running game in Josh Jacobs, who has almost 800 yards rushing, and he's missed some time with 5 games to go, 9 touchdowns, but he's not playing. So if the Jets can make the game one-dimensional, they can keep it close. If Darnold is able to throw the ball, this is yet another opportunity for Sam Darnold to put up numbers not to put up numbers enough, to put up drives, because the Raiders will allow it. They will allow you to get those types of drives on them, and they will give you opportunities to score points. When you have a guy like Perryman Mims, you have a guy like Crowder, you have some tight ends, you want to see everything in this game. I know that people don't want the Jets to win, but I'm just talking about from a schematic standpoint. This is a good matchup for the Jets. The Jets wide receivers against the Raiders cornerbacks. I really like what you could see here. I think the Jets and Mims might be able to have his first 100-yard game of his career in this game. I really think that's possible. The Jets could go out and do it, but they can't do it with Sam Darnold taking points off the board with bad turnovers. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out, because you know the Jets running game is going to be lackluster, and they're going to have to throw the football to get drives going. And one of the things I want to see, Krista, from whoever's calling the plays, because that's one thing that was like super scary after the game, and it just makes this hire look so much worse every time this man opens up his mouth. But Samini caught him in a dead face lie there. Like you asked him straight up. You're like, who's calling the plays? And he's like, oh well, Logan's is calling the plays. And it's like, dude, we were watching him all game. He wasn't doing anything. In fact, he was doing the same thing you were doing when supposedly you weren't calling plays, sitting there doing nothing. How could he possibly be calling plays? And so the one thing that he says that absolutely just made me sick, the fact that this person is an offensive coordinator, he said that, okay, he gives me the 3 plays. It's pretty simple, right? That's how someone speaks to you. Your team is 0-11, right? Your quarterback has regressed, okay? Your unicorn tight end has regressed. Your offense is one of the worst in the league. Besides playing some bad teams in the second half last year, you couldn't win a game. And you got to sit there and say, oh, well, it's pretty simple, like so smug. It's not simple. Clearly, it's not simple for Adam Gase to call an offense. Clearly, it's not simple for Adam Gase to recognize what's going on in the field. And that seems to be why they're struggling. Because from what I see, it's not. So he says that Logains gives him the 3 plays and that he calls third down. Okay, Fro, now I understand. Now I understand why the Jets drive stall out. I wonder why they run on first and second down and create a 3rd and 7, a 3rd and 8, a 3rd and 10 or more for their quarterback. It's because the plays are predetermined. No one's making plays based on what they're seeing on the field, because that is the only logical explanation I can find for the reason why you run it on first and second down nearly every play. You make it so obvious that the fans are calling the plays from the game. And if you're a defensive coordinator, clearly you could feel the flow of the game as well. And once you get down, once you're down 14-0, once you're down 21-3, then you really become obvious in what you want to do. And then it puts more pressure on your quarterback who's trying to find himself. So this team is a mess from the top all the way down. And it's leaked into players. It's leaked into staff. It is just a really big joke. And it just makes me you know what? People say, well, why do we stick with Adam Gase? No. I want Adam Gase to own every bit of this 0-16. So then that way he'll never get another job in the NFL again. And I hate saying that because it's tough times out there. I've lost my job. Many people have lost their jobs over the years. And it's hard to come back from that. And, but he's been paid a lot. I'm sure he's going to be okay, right? So that's one. And 2, I don't want another franchise going through what the New York Jets and what us Jets fans had to go through this year, and how embarrassing it is. And how embarrassing it is for a team like the New York Jets, who've been trying to find their way for so long. If this was a team that had just come off, you look at the Eagles suck. Right? Carson Wentz sucks. And he sucks in large part because his offensive line is always hurt. He's had some injuries himself. He's lost weapons. This team is on the tail end of having to be rebuilt. They got their Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they didn't get their Super Bowl with Carson Wentz. They got it with Nick Foles. Even though Carson Wentz was on an MVP track before he got hurt that year, everybody remembers Foles. Nobody remembers Wentz for that. And unfortunately, it had to be Wentz. That was probably his time to get a Super Bowl, and he missed out, unfortunately, because of injury, and he may never get back there again. That was his legacy piece, MVP season, Super Bowl, tie it all together. but that is life. And that's what happens. And I just don't want, it's different for them because they got the chip. So they could struggle for a little bit, but it's like, hey, we won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. We won a Super Bowl 4 years ago. Hey, man, like 5 years ago, we won a Super Bowl. Your team hasn't even won a Super Bowl since the late 60s. So it gives you time as an organization to go through the ups and downs. But when you're a team like the New York Jets, every year is like, are we going to show something? Are we going to, and the fans they get tired of it because then it's like, all right, well, we're sort of doing a rebuild and it looks like we're on the right track. And then it doesn't work out and we fall off. And fans get tired of that because it's been almost 10 years since we've done anything and we still didn't win a chip. We were just relevant for what, 3 years? And then before that, you have to go back. Every few years, you have a team that, a Herm Edwards team, Chad Pennington leads you. And then you go back and you go Vinny Testaverde, and that was like probably the best Jets team I ever saw was that team that went to the AFC Championship game. Unfortunately, they ran into Denver. But that's what Jet fans remember. We remember all those things. We remember that, man, if we could have just got to the Super Bowl, we already beat the Falcons earlier that year. We would have won the Super Bowl. And then Vinny Testaverde tears his ACL the very first game. And then you struggle along, and then finally you get a team and you trade Chad Pennington, which sucks. It was a gut rip. A couple playoff victories here and there, but then you trade Pennington, right? And then Brett Favre comes over, and you start off, 8-3? And then he gets hurt, and Mangini doesn't have the sack there to sit down Brett Favre when he was injured. He got injured, if I'm not mistaken, in the Denver game. He got injured, and Mangini never pulled him. And the Jets just slid after that, and that's what brought Rex Ryan in. But ultimately, Chad Pennington led the Dolphins to the division. He played nearly perfect football that year. They wound up winning the division. I mean, it's just joke after joke. Joke after joke after joke with this franchise. So that's why it hurts more to have a fool like this coaching your team and everyone's laughing at you. Oh, I can't believe you hired Adam Gase. Miami just fired him. Look at what Miami's doing now. That's why they got rid of him. And it makes all the sense now. And I don't want a new head coach that just got fired. How could you get fired from a job and take the same exact job and expect things to be better? You need time to sit, evaluate what you did wrong, evaluate what can I do better moving forward, maybe add some new wrinkles to your system. Because what Adam Gase has done to this team is he's taken an offense that's fit for I don't know who, right? Maybe guys like Joe Flacco, maybe guys that just stand in the pocket and have a deep arm. But that's not our quarterback. And he was brought here for one reason and one reason only. And that was to make Sam Darnold a better quarterback, right? And he has not done that. So how is he going to get a job moving on in the future? I don't see it. I would not let this man touch my franchise. I would not let this man touch my offense. I would not let this man touch my quarterback. I would not let him in my building at all, ever again. I mean, he's going to have to take time off, start as a positional coach somewhere, maybe a quarterback's coach years from now, and show something maybe somewhere else, the college level. I don't know, but I don't know anyone who would want this guy. How many times is Peyton Manning going to pick up the phone and say, oh, yeah, he ain't calling no more. I'll tell you that much. Peyton Manning is not calling for Adam Gase anymore. So, unfortunately, we had to be the ones to see Adam Gase's career out of the door. And it's very, very unfortunate for our franchise, but we deserve a lot better than this because Sam Darnold, listen, he has not played well. Ultimately, I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. Ultimately, even if he goes to another team, unless the situation is absolutely perfect and all things work together, I don't think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. I just don't. I don't see it in him, right? But at the same time, I do believe that there is that fine line with rookie quarterbacks where you either have a quarterback who you could really put bad teams around him and he's still going to show his worth. He's still going to make plays and do things that you go, wow, he's a special talent. If they could just do more for him, he could be a perennial Pro Bowl or a perennial playoff quarterback. And then there's guys like Sam Darnold who need a lot of pieces and a lot of things and a scheme that is tailored around his skill set to succeed. And unfortunately, the Jets haven't been able to do that. And now they're going into a rebuild. And you have a coach that is trying to plug and play his offense into a quarterback that it does not fit. We spoke about, and the one thing that Sam Darnold always did well when he first came out, his first 2 years, right, that you saw him doing some things well, is when he rolled out of the pocket.
Yes.
And now when you see Sam Darnold run outside of the pocket, you get worried now because he holds the ball too long and he doesn't make the right decision. He winds up not seeing the safety and zone. He doesn't wind up seeing the trailing defender. And now he's throwing interceptions in the only places where you thought that would be his escape. That would be the place where if things break down, this is where he gets better. And it's not. He's making the same mistake rolling out. He's taking coverage sacks. He's not throwing the ball accurately. One of the things that he's doing when he's running with the ball and he's throwing is he's not planting his feet. He's not rolling to use his speed and athleticism and then getting to a spot, stop, throw, because he's hesitant on where he wants to go with the football. So he's rolling out, and the whole time he's scanning, his feet are still moving. His body is still moving. And by the time he releases it, sometimes this man is throwing the ball full speed. He's running, he's rolling out, and he's letting it go. Well, forward momentum, right, pulls your body. If you're running to this way, it's pulling your body. So when you release the ball, it is not going to go on a straight line. It is going to drift. And you see him making mistakes like you saw him do last week when he rolled out and he threw the interception. Like, where the hell is that ball going? Well, he's running full speed. He needs to run full speed, stop, or at least slow it down and step into the throw, let it go, and it'll have more accuracy. But when you have a guy that's uncomfortable, when you have a guy that's searching and he's not going through his progressions, you saw early in the game, he hit his checkdowns a little bit. You need to continue to do that throughout the course of the game. Even if it's not moving the way you want to, take the 5 yards. I mean, hell, we watched Tom Brady make a career out of it. 5 yards, 7 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, screen, 10 yards, 15 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards. Like, beat teams down with it if you have to, but don't make the critical mistake. Don't take the critical sack. And that's one thing that this kid has done, and his coach has done him no favor. His coach has ruined him. He is now ruining himself. He doesn't have an offense that fits him. He doesn't know these wide receivers in game. All these things stack up for a guy in the wrong direction. And that's why I think the Raiders are going to come out. They're going to get an early lead. It's going to force the Jets to have to sling the ball around. And this is going to give, yet I said again, another opportunity, Krista, for him to go out there and make some plays, because there will be yards to be had. You can move the ball on a Raiders team. You could score points on this team. What do you think the final score, and what is your outlook on this game against the Raiders?
Yeah, I think also it doesn't help that Adam Gaze's play calling is so predictable. We have him using Frank Gore like 90% of the times, it seems like, and he has Gore running down the middle like at least it seems like 80% of the time. That also doesn't help as well. That's not to make an excuse for Sam, because I wish Sam would just go yell at Adam Gaze like he did last season and just be like, hey, these plays aren't working. Let me sling the football. Why don't you roll me out? But unfortunately, I think Sam, like I mentioned before, Sam's way too nice of a guy to really confront Gaze in that type of way. That's something that I think Sam needs to do in order to help himself as well. Just go and tell Gaze off. Like, have that conversation with Gaze. You don't even need to tell Gaze off. Just have that conversation with Adam Gaze, because Adam Gaze is supposed to be the guy that helps develop him. So I would hope that Sam would have that dialogue with Adam Gaze, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So we're probably going to see him run Gore, unfortunately, a lot of times, which isn't going to help, because I think he needs to sling the football on this Raiders offense. And I don't think this game's going to be close because of Adam Gaze's play calling, and B, because what we've seen, Sam Darnold's been regressing. He locks into one receiver now. He's making those rookie mistakes, and he just doesn't seem confident. Like, he goes out there, I could tell he's not confident. I'm sure defenses can see that too, and I'm sure they're eating off of that energy that Sam is regressing and that he's not confident as well. So it's not helping that Sam Darnold's regressing. Unless something drastic changes, like they throw the football downfield and they let Sam roll out, I don't think this game's going to be any close with Sam Darnold. I'm sorry, I just don't see it under Sam Darnold and Adam Gase. If this was Joe Flacco, I could totally see this game being a lot closer because I think right now Joe Flacco is a way better quarterback than Sam Darnold because Joe Flacco has the awareness of throwing the football. He's not making those rookie mistakes. He's not doing any of that. So I think the Raiders are going to win. And they might not even, and the Raiders, and it's possible the Raiders may not even look like that great either. It's just the Jets are just that terrible of a team. They don't know how to close games. They don't know how to win. You have an incompetent offensive guru, self-proclaimed offensive guru that claims to know what he's doing, but he's just running Gore like 90% of the times, which I'm convinced his playbook is probably Frank Gore at this point because I feel like that's all he knows how to do is run, run, pass. And us fans, we know that we could read it, and I just don't see him. I just don't unless Sam Darnold make calls his own plays and goes against Adam Gase. I don't see anything different because Sam Darnold has lost his confidence. That's why I think Sam needs to get out of here. And unfortunately, I'm picking the Jets to lose because they're just not a good football team. I'm picking I have the Raiders going 30 and the Jets 7 because I don't see them getting many. I can't see the Jets
I
getting
know.
any.
Listen, I just did the
It's really
face. It's
hard for
not
me even.
shocking anymore.
I can't see the Jets like score many points anymore. It's just bad. Like even our kicker, I can't rely on our kickers anymore. It's just like it's that bad now. I can't. I hope Sam Darnold gets his touchdown because it's been a while since he's gotten a touchdown. And yeah, that's all I got to say. It's unfortunate that we're in this position, but unless something drastic changes, I don't see this team really scoring many points against many teams. I think we're going to see Greg Williams hold this team and put us in games because, like you mentioned before, our run defense is now number 11. I got to give credit when it's due. Greg Williams has done a great job. He's proved me wrong because I called him out in the beginning of Jets Guru. I said, "Hey, I understand you don't have your pass rushers. I understand you don't have your cornerbacks, but the one thing I thought you'd be good at is stopping the run." And Greg Williams must have heard or something because now we are 11th against the run. So kudos to you, Greg Williams. You have proved me wrong. You are one of the bright lights the last few games that have kept the Jets in game. It's unfortunate that we have an offensive guru that doesn't know what he's doing and he doesn't give the defense a break. I expect the same energy from our defense, and unfortunately, it's not going to be close. And I see the Raiders winning this game because our offense is not going to do very much, and our defense is going to do all the work, unfortunately.
And that's one of the things, Krista. And listen, Anthony brings up an excellent point here, and I want to read this here. He says, there's a reason why teams have a head coach, OC, and a quarterback coach. It's to give a quarterback different perspective. Gase is doing 3 jobs, and it doesn't work. And I agree 100%.
Yep.
And we talked about that when he first got here and how he shouldn't have been doing everything. You know, like that. Like, why do you have an offensive coordinator for if you're not going to use him? Oh, well, we use him like in practice. It's like, that's useless. You're a head coach of a football team. You need to be coaching the full football team. And you already know, with Greg Williams here, you're not going to tell him what to do on defense. So you have a guy that's like strictly if anything, because of the way things are set up, though, even though it doesn't work that way, he should be better, right? Because he doesn't have to worry about the defense. He doesn't have to worry about his offensive coordinator, right? He's handling things. So all he has to really focus on is his offense, and he can't even do that correctly. And, people jumped on me for defending Greg Williams earlier in the year when I started going off on Sam Darnold because I just wasn't seeing what I was liking from him. And they were like, oh, but what about Greg Williams' vaunted defense? And he's not the same coordinator he was last year. Well, dude, this is a passing league, and he doesn't have one starting corner. He doesn't have a backup corner. And now Brian Poole's been out several weeks. He doesn't even have him. And you have a host of backups who are guys coming in and out, undrafted guys, rookies. And he hasn't played with Mosley, okay, his star linebacker that I'm sure is going to be running his defense ever for like 2 games for the whole time Mosley's been here. Copeland was out last year. Cashman is out again this year. There's been people hurt all over the field. and you're gonna hold that guy to that type of a standard, and he at least gives your team a couple chances in a
Yep.
few games. There's been a couple games where teams have necessarily not come out to get the Jets, but I think that's a lot of it has to do with the scheming that the Jets do, because you see the guy, what Pierre Desir was giving up, what Lamar Jackson, who's been getting better, but what he has done in the beginning of the year and what he was giving up. How could you blame Greg Williams for that? How could you stop when you're getting beat on your one-on-one matchups, when you're getting beat in zone, when they put zone in there to help protect you? How could we do much with that? And the fact that his unit hasn't given up, guys like Quinnen Williams have gotten better under his defensive coaching. And Lowell, no, I know Bryce Hall is good. I'm actually getting to that point, but Quinnen Williams has gotten better. You've seen different things, Fadu Kasi, you see Langy. There's been a few guys who you're like, wow, I could see these guys. They've gotten better under Greg Williams, not gotten worse. What Jet player can you really say has gotten worse under Greg Williams' tenure, who doesn't currently have? Maybe Henry Anderson, but that's been a slow crawl since the first year that he's got here. But other than that, the younger defensive players, I think, have gotten better, the ones that have been healthy enough to play. And then you look at a guy like Bryce Hall who's come along, and Quinnen Williams just did an interview with Hahn and Bart Scott, and the first player that came off his mouth when they said, what are some of the younger guys that you've seen out here that look like they're getting better? And he mentioned Bryce Hall right off of rip. So, and you look at a guy even like Bless Austin, who I don't think is maybe a starter in this league. I think Bryce Hall has better coverage skills. When you look at like Bless Austin, he's got a high motor. He over pursues a little bit, but he's very physical. And I would love to see Bless on this team kind of in a rotation setup because he is very physical. But Bryce Hall, when you look at even the catches that are made on him, a lot of times he's right there. He just has to turn his head. He has to get used to the pro game a little bit. Receivers have little things that they do with their feet. Watch the footwork of some of these wide receivers. Watch the hand movements. Watch the fakes and the feints that they do. And it takes a little bit, especially for a guy coming off an injury in college. He should have been a higher pick, had to work his way back, then he was hurt to start the season. It's going to take him a little while, but the little bit that I've seen from Bryce Hall, he's got an opportunity to maybe be the second corner for the Jets next year, depending on what the new defensive coordinator is going to want to do. But Krista, looking at this Jets team, and if anybody wants to call and ask us a question, 1-202-952-6194, you can call in and ask us a question before we get going here pretty soon. When you look at the Jets, what do you think is their biggest need besides quarterback going into next year in the draft or free agency?
I think for me, I'm gonna go with pass rusher because although I really like the potential of Huff and I really like John Franklin Myers, I think we really need that pass rush to get to the quarterback. I think having a beast pass rusher would help free out Quinn Williams, who's already a beast. I think it would help free out Foley Fulikoski. I think it would help round out this defense. I think having a pass rush would give the back end of our defense more time and to help the cornerbacks. It would help our safeties if we had a pass rush. And it's unfortunate because I really do like Jordan Jenkins. I like him as a person and I like him as a player, but he's just not producing enough for the New York Jets to warrant a big contract. And I'm not even 100% sure if he may even possibly be on this team next year. We really need that starting pass rush that can get fear into quarterbacks. I think having that pass rush would elevate this defense so much more. And I think it's amazing that a guy like Greg Williams, who I criticized in the beginning, by the way, but he has shut me up. So, like I mentioned, I'm going to give props when it's due. I think if we had that pass rush, it would help free out a guy like Quinn Williams, Foley Fulikoski, that defensive line. I just think having a pass rush, being able to get to a quarterback is everything. And the only reason why I don't say offensive line, that was going to be my second option, is because I do like Ty Becton. I think the Jets do have some movable possible pieces. I know Fant's always injured. I'm encouraged by what I've seen when he's healthy. I think they do have some talent there, but I think if they had a pass rush, I just think it would take the Jets defense to a whole new level. That's why I'm going with the pass rusher for me.
Yeah, and that's a good one. I mean, there's a lot of holes for this team. And when
Mm-hmm.
you look at the offensive line, I think I agree with that. And we got to look at this offensive line as a whole, as a complete whole. They struggled, obviously, in the beginning of the
Mm-hmm.
season. I think they got their bearings under them a little bit, but also how many coverage sacks are we taking? How many pressures are because the quarterback's not going through his progressions fast enough and getting the ball out? There's a lot of things. What about offensive scheme? Is the offensive scheme contributing to how the offensive line is playing as well? And so there's a lot of things that factor into that. Fant's probably on this team. Becton's probably on this team. Alex Lewis is most likely gone. Either
Yeah.
McGovern or Van Rotten might be gone there. So we probably have a new center or at least two new guards or something like that. But I think the most pressing need for the New York Jets is cornerback. I think this is a passing league. You've seen the Jets
Mm-hmm.
get taken advantage of. I mean, each and every game, and those are drive extenders. You have a third and four, a 3rd and 7, and it seems like teams are just able to take advantage because they know they're going to win the one-on-one individual matchups. And so it's really tough. And then when your corners struggle, then you can't do man on man and you can't rush the quarterback properly. You have to give him help, and you have to give him help in a zone. And I just don't like when you put parameters around a defense when you don't know what they're going to be, when you know that what they're going to be able to do. It makes it easier for the offense to scheme against. And that's what made the Jets defense so scary when Darrelle Revis and Rex Ryan was
Mm-hmm.
here, because they basically gave Darrelle Revis one side of the field, and they said, okay, whoever comes this way, he's yours, and or a receiver, and he followed that number one receiver. When you do that, you shut off one corner of the field. It makes it a lot easier to do your blitz packages, because now you could say, all right, I could go one-on-one. This man doesn't need help. Maybe I'll send my safety. Maybe I'll send an extra backer. Maybe I'll do these things because I know that we're going to be okay. But you cannot do that when you have bad cornerback play. And not only do the Jets need one cornerback, they need 2 or 3 cornerbacks. And so
Yeah.
when you look at the cornerback situation in college football, you got 2 guys at the top right now. You have Jeff Okudah, if I'm not mistaken, right? And you have CJ Henderson from Florida. Are those the 2 guys we're looking at, if I'm not mistaken, or is that I'm not really sure. Where are we with that right now? I'm not really sure where we're at with the prospects, but I'm just really, really disappointed. I'm really, really disappointed in the cornerback play, and I really want to see more. I think it really hamstrings the New York Jets. And sorry, those are last year's prospects. Looking at the wrong prospects here. But I don't know where the Jets go. I don't know where the Jets go with how they rebuild this team first, because
Yeah.
obviously you need a quarterback. That's number one. But then you do need a pass rusher. But then you do need 2 corners. But then
Yep.
you do need a tight end. You still need a featured running back. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to need a guy to take pressure off of him, because it can make him one-dimensional when he comes to the Jets. So I'm sitting here and I just don't know where to go with it. But cornerback's number one. But then you make an interesting point about pass rushers, and then you see a guy like Bud Dupree get hurt for the Steelers. And then you go, well,
Yeah.
that could have been a possible option for the Jets in the offseason. So then you're looking at maybe 1 or 2 guys in free agency that could really be difference makers. So it's really scary, because even with all the picks and all the money that the Jets do have, they may be on the short end of the stick still. Because like we talked about, just because the
Yeah.
Jets have money doesn't mean players want to come here. Just because the Jets have money doesn't mean players want to come here. And draft picks are 50-50. So this is going to be a complete rebuild. I don't expect the Jets to be very good next year, even with Trevor Lawrence. I still expect them to be in bottom tier of the division, bottom tier of the AFC. But you should still see the wheels churning and this team be able to get better. And so I think in this Raiders game, because I didn't give my prediction, I think if Flacco plays this game, I think the Jets lose 27-21. With
Yeah.
Sam Darnold playing this game and the type of offense that they're most likely going to play, I have the Jets losing 27. I don't even know if you could give the Jets 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's so pathetic,
Yeah.
but all right. All right. So I'm going to go 27-13 Raiders, because I do think that the Jets will find themselves being able to put up a touchdown drive early. And then from there, maybe get 2 field goals, not being able to punch it in. So 30 to 30-13. I think that's a good spot for the New York Jets, considering I know a lot of people are saying, well, why don't you just pull? They're not going to pull Sam Darnold. If they pull Sam Darnold right now, his stock is going to drop. They're going to, because here's the thing. Right now, Sam Darnold has an opportunity to audition for himself for not only being moved to another team, but for him to be able to work his way back and possibly be this team's future. I know that seems really hard right now, but there's a lot of people that still believe Sam Darnold's a good quarterback, and this is because of the way the Jets have run their organization and because of Adam Gase and his offense is the reason why this team has this quarterback has struggled. So this is an audition for him. The moment you sit down Sam Darnold is the moment his stock for you getting draft picks plummets, because you are going to be telling the world, we no longer believe in Sam Darnold. This is officially, we've got veterans on this team. We got to keep this locker room together, and we got to put the best guy out on the field to win. That is what they're saying. If Sam struggles and they keep him out there, that's because they want him to be able to somehow show his talent level, and they might still believe in him, and they want to see if he could dig himself out of this hole. Because remember, Sam sat out for a couple weeks and new receivers together. The Dolphins aren't the easiest team to play against, especially defensively. I know these all sound like excuses, guys, and they are. But sometimes those excuses are warranted. Not saying that they are in this case. I'm just putting it out there on the table for you. So the way I see it is that Sam has to play the whole entire length of the season for you to get the most value out of him and to really evaluate him. So when you do move on, you could say, listen, we're done with Sam here. Unfortunately, we're done. Let's find him a better spot. And so Luell thinks we might win if we pull Sam. Again, I think this is a different Raiders team than last year. Even though they came in with a similar record, it's just a different team. You look at some of their games, like how they played the Kansas City Chiefs. They do have an offense that they could put up points. And the Jets defense is not playing like it was last year, okay? So it's a different defense as well. One of the guys that could be an issue is Quinnen Williams. And somebody said during the broadcast, I don't know if somebody caught this or not, right? But someone said during the broadcast that Quinnen Williams, he's not going to be a 10-sack, a season type of guy. Give my daughter a hug before she goes to bed. Good night. Love you. But, it's one of those things where Quinnen Williams, he has the ability to get, I believe, 7-8 sacks a year. He could do that. I believe he could do that. When you watch his play, not only has he gotten stronger this year, his body looks better, right? And he's becoming an issue in the middle, disrupting plays. He's getting a lot of tackles for losses. And what tackles for losses are telling me is that you're breaking through the beginning of the line, you're getting into the second level of that offense. And when you do that, you are going to run into sacks because you're going to run into quarterbacks stepping up into the pocket. So you're going to get a lot of tackle for losses. You're going to get a lot of negative plays, and you're going to rack up sacks. So you could see a guy like Quinnen Williams average 5 sacks a season, like that type of thing, which I think would be great from his position. So I really, really do think that Quinnen Williams is going to be a difference maker to the point where you won't need a lights out pass rusher on the edge when you have someone disrupting the middle and shifting those quarterbacks left and right. You just need some competency out there. So I do think cornerback's the best issue for the Jets to handle, whether it be through free agency or through the draft. And, I'm over here reading players already drafted, but, we'll get to, I'll do a full, I don't watch as much college until the end of the season. And so I really have to dig in a little bit deeper and, and get into that as we get closer to see what the Jets needs really are going to be at the end of the season. But, I'm excited. It's not like I'm not excited about what this team is going to bring to the table. It's just there's a lot that has to get done. And this is not going to be a year thing. This is going to be a 2 to 3 year thing with the second year of whoever this new coach and quarterback is going to be, being hopefully the turning point where you see like a 7-win team that's like scratching on the surface where we thought we were going to be after we had a second half finish. That's where we want to be in 2 years from now. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough, but we're going to be there every step of the way for you guys each and every week, even in the off season. If there's one thing you guys could do for us right now, please like the video and please share the video on your page. We don't curse. We don't talk politics. This really helps the show out because it gets our numbers up. It gets us to be able to get sponsorships. It gets us out and more in the public eye for people to be able to view us and hopefully pick up more opportunities to get you guys better stuff for the show. But other than that, thank you guys so much for a good show. As always, we're going to be doing the Sunday pregame, which I usually do on the audio version, but I did a video this time. But Kevin should be back, so we're going to go ahead and do the audio portion of the pregame. And then, as always, we'll do the postgame after the Jets game to kind of talk and break things down and dive in to see. And this is what it's become for us now, individual performances. We're looking at Sam Darnold. And all right, so let's talk about this really quick. I'm just going to throw a couple names out there before I let you guys go that we need to look for to see what the next steps are. Quinnen Williams, to see if he could continue. I mean, he was really disruptive in that Miami game, to see if he continues that with a little bit better, I believe, of an offense. And then you have Denzel Mims, okay? Whether Sam Darnold plays bad or not, I'm hoping that he has at least 150 passing yards. And I think a lot of those could go to Denzel Mims. This could be a breakout game for Denzel Mims where he really establishes himself and people start to know his name. I think that this could be a big game for Mims against this Raiders defense. So those are two players. And then obviously, on the defensive side of the ball, the only cornerback that we have worth of anything right now that I believe, that cornerback now, Bryce Hall. I want to see how Bryce Hall plays against Ruggs, and I want to see what he does, like how effective he is, because Ruggs could really turn it up, and I believe Ruggs is playing in this game. He should be good to go. I want to see how he matches up and how he does in rotation, because I liked what I saw against Hall last week, even though in tandem they allowed a lot of yards to Devontae Parker. I like that he was right on Parker. He's right up in his stuff, very physical. So I want to see that. And then Sam Darnold, we got to see what this kid has. You know, I don't want to get a 5th round pick for him. You know, I don't want to get a 6th round pick for him. I want to try to get something that's really going to help the team immediately, a 2nd or 3rd rounder. And right now, teams are not going to give you a 2nd rounder for Sam Darnold because they know that the Jets aren't going to keep him right now. And so why am I going to give up a 2nd round pick for him? I'll just wait until you cut him, or I'll just wait until, you're really desperate for a pick and you just want to move him, because, I don't see a picture where there's a Lawrence and a Sam Darnold on the same roster. Could it happen? It's a possibility, but I don't see it happening. I just think it's too much pressure to put on a guy like Lawrence, where there's a guy like Darnold who's experienced, even though you're the better talent, and obviously they're going to roll with you for a year or two. I want this kid coming in knowing that it's his team, and I want him coming in knowing that he will be the future of the Jets. And also for Sam Darnold, for what they did to him and the coach that they gave him, I don't want him sitting on the bench at 24 years old, watching Trevor Lawrence take over a team with a new offense, a new defense, new players, and sitting there going, man, this should be me right now. I don't think that's fair to the kid. So I'd like to see Sam Darnold move on from here. And so with that being said, that's it, man. Jets Guru, another episode wrapped up. I really appreciate all the support. Again, please keep liking. Please keep sharing. Check us out at Guru Jets on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram at Jets Guru. Ramon handles the Twitter. He's done a great job. We got JR, our producer behind the scenes, who takes all the calls and makes all the cool graphics and sets us up. So shout out to him right now, who's doing the show. And we're just trying to move it forward. We're trying to do some big things for you guys. And with this team, there's no doubt that we're going to keep continuing to put on a great show for you guys each and every week. And hey, get out there and call, man. We got the number out. We got the new stuff. We got the hotline. We'll be taking like 2 or 3 calls a night if you call in. Remember, no cursing, none of that stuff, no politics. But we want to take your calls, man. I want to speak to you, Jet fans. You could just ask us something about us. It doesn't have to be necessarily Jets Guru related. When did we become Jet fans? What do we think about anything Jets related? You could call us, not just something specific with a player. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We love you guys. We love your support. Have a great night, and we will see you Sunday for Jets post game. Take care.
Anybody can be beat. So how did that just feel? Feel great. Poetic justice. Anybody can be beat.
On 2nd down, throws for the end zone, touchdown for Radiers. Here's Benny, going to the end zone, and he makes the catch. Yes! We're better, man.
deep for Moss. Rivas is there.